welcome back to the Lifeboat Live with me, absolutely Arian. And I am so excited to have you guys back this evening, this Thursday, because I'm just excited about the topic tonight and the special guests that I have. They are just really, really wise and just are full of information, especially when it comes to just these kind of relationship topics. I love listening to them on their own platforms and excited to collaborate with them tonight. But before we get into it, did you guys catch last week's episode of the Lifeboat Live where we talked about the art of the apology? I had Miss Fee on there and she killed it. We talked about how that there's an art to apologizing, and it's not, and there's a way that you can apologize, that you can get favorable results and fortify your relationships without causing and amplifying the issues or the tension. And so if you miss that, you can always go back and catch that on my Facebook page or on my YouTube channel, which is The Lifeboat with Absolutely Arian, and make sure you catch that. But as we get into tonight's topic, we're talking about the breakup. Everyone, or most people, I should say, have been through a breakup at some point in their life, and they can be painful. They can be just really hard to navigate. And sometimes we break up and make up and break up and make up, but that can be such an unhealthy pattern as well. And so tonight I'm going to be talking with Coach Bryan and Miss Ashley Nicole Cook on this topic, and just kind of sharing with you our own experiences, how we navigated through them, what it looks like to be in a healthy breakup, an unhealthy breakup, and really just how to navigate your emotions through that. But before I bring them onto the stage, can you guys make sure that you share this video? All you guys who are on right now, I'd love to see who is on. Please leave a comment. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from, so that we can just interact with you and greet you as well. And then also, if you can just tag your friends in the comments, really. Because listen, we are here to just help you guys and share our own life experiences with you. And there's so many people who are going through certain things in life and don't know how to navigate, don't even know where to start. And so we really want to be able to give you some tools and just the wisdom and, from our own life experiences and our own life lessons, so that, it makes it easier on you, or even just relatable. So without further ado, before we get into it, I would love to introduce you to my special guests tonight. I welcome them as I bring them to the stage. It's Miss Ashley Nicole Cook and Bryan. Yay!
What's going on?
Hi, guys.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm so happy and excited to have you guys here because I am thrilled. I love this topic for some reason, although it's kind of morbid. Like, no one loves breakups, but it's just like one of those things where like we all can relate to it. Everyone for the most part has been through a breakup. But before we do get into that, Ashley, tell my audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Ashley Cook, and I'm currently in Charleston, South Carolina. And I am here doing full-time consulting work for pastors and churches to help them protect children from sexual abuse. So I do a lot of training, facilitating, and things like that. I'm a mom of an official senior now in high school. So I'm super excited about that. And we're navigating through that. And I'm going to enjoy this conversation tonight because I'm having to have dating conversations with my teenagers. So I'm glad to be here. I'm excited.
Awesome. Good. And I'm really glad for you to be here as well. So Coach Bryan, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about who you are, what you do.
Yeah, sure thing. My name is Coach Bryan Thomas, and I am a up-and-coming life coach, relationship coach, dating coach, and future matchmaker. My responsibility, anyone that brings me on, is to make sure that you have the healthiest and the most insightful experience going through dating and relationships. My goal is not to feed you what you want to hear, but it's to give you practical advice so that as you're going through the space that you can learn and also be aware of other people. Because I believe that in relationships, if you are aware of yourself and not aware of the other person, you're still going to end up hurting people. People are going to hurt simply because that's just life. But when you are aware, you can minimize your hurt and also their hurt. I am in the Detroit area. I've got a birthday in about a little bit. Tomorrow, a week from tomorrow, will be my next birthday. So I'm definitely looking excited. Looking forward to that, and I'm just looking forward to having a conversation. I've had an opportunity to talk to Miss Ashley in her element. She's absolutely phenomenal. Arian, the Lifeboat, has definitely been very, very helpful to so many people, and I have enjoyed the time that I have watched you grow in this element. So I'm definitely excited to contribute and to also learn in this space. So I thank you guys for allowing me the opportunity to take your time this morning. I mean, this evening. I got my days mixed up. I'm thinking it's Friday, but it's only Thursday. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bryan. So wait, your birthday's next week. Does that make you a Gemini?
No, that actually makes me the other one. Not that I didn't heard some stories about them Gemini, so I'm trying to stay away from. Yeah, I'm not going. I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so great. So the breakup.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a pretty hard time in a person's life or an experience in someone's life. It has been for me. I've had some terrible breakups. I've had some not so bad breakups, and I've had some like, darn, I don't know if we should breakups, And so I feel like I've had more unhealthy breakups than I've had healthy breakups because, of course, when you're breaking up, it's just never a pleasant thing, right? Like ego can sometimes get away, emotions get in the way, pride gets in the way, and if you're not a mature, self-aware, conscious person, and both of you, I should say, are equally or at least have a level of maturity, consciousness, and awareness. Navigating a breakup can be very, very challenging. So either one of you, if you want to take this, what does an unhealthy breakup look like? And what do you think, or what does it look like in your experience, if you want to share that? And what do you think are some things to avoid when breaking up? That's a loaded question. I know. You take your time now. But yeah, it's just because I can say for myself, I think going back and forth with someone, so for me, the way I handle relationships, like I don't like to say I'm done unless I know I'm absolutely done. Because I don't do the breakup to make up, and so and I think a lot of the times when people start doing that, because they get upset or something that they don't like, it just demonstrates to me that there's a level of immaturity there, that you're going to run whenever things get hard. And that is a huge red flag for me, especially because, I've experienced, abandonment issues. So when somebody does that to me, it makes me want to back up all the way, because once you've told me you're done, you better be sure and real sure that you're done, because I'm not going back and forth with you. So that is one of the unhealthy, I would say, breakup patterns that people have done, or I have experienced in my dating, experiences. What about you guys?
Ashley, I'm gonna let you handle that one right there. You gotta let ladies first. I'm sure you got some stories. I got stories, but I'm not trying to make y'all laugh right now.
We all have stories for days at this point.
We all have stories. And what I think is interesting is I'm in a space now where there's a level of maturity where I'm able to look back at breakups in previous relationships and look at it more objectively and recognize that I would say like the unhealthy part of that breakup is me not looking at what I contributed to the breakup, but always looking at what they did, for our relationship to end. It was always their fault. And I never took, there was never any accountability for what I may have done.
Right.
And so I'm in a space now, after I've done I've been by myself for quite a while, not dating anyone, not giving anyone any type of attention, and just really working on myself, retracing past relationships to see like, what did I contribute to the relationship? How did it end? Why did it end that way? What did I do in that relationship that maybe led up to that breakup moment?
Right.
And so the toxic thing that I did previously was just not have any accountability for my contribution to that breakup, blaming the other person, like 100%. There was nothing that I did, which, and to be honest, what I did in those relationships that led up to that breakup was stay in it longer than I should have. And ignoring those red flags or not giving the talking phase as much time as it needed. And I've recognized that some of the relationships that I've been in, they were so short that the time that we were in a relationship, in a committed relationship, it should have actually been time that we were still courting or we were still dating, getting to know one another before making that decision to commit. So, I've done a lot of healing and a lot of, self inventory, and have been able to come to the conclusion that, a lot of the relationships that did not work out for me, it wasn't because they were a bad person. It wasn't because they were dishonest. Some of them were, but there was also me ignoring those red flags and those behaviors and staying in it longer than I should have.
Yeah. I think I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, the mug, and the keychain.
And the chapstick, because and the hand sanitizer, because now in the pandemic, that's what they send you and everything.
See, I'm not even for the y'all don't you start that. Y'all don't start that now. Don't you do that.
Hand sanitizer, and here's my hand sanitizer and my chapstick. I get it from everybody. That's the new. Yeah.
So, Coach Bryan?
For me, the unhealthy breakups that I have gone through is because I'm such a giving person in some instances. Like when the breakup would happen, I would totally shut completely down for like days at a time. Like not like, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna take my life or anything like that. But more so like time to just kind of like look at it, and I would take all of the blame. Like I would not allow that person taking the blame, because it would be more so about like, I consider myself to be somewhat of a high achiever in many things in my life. And so for me, the element of achievement would be, okay, well, I didn't achieve this, so what else is wrong with me? And, I would start questioning, other things in my life that may be going good. But recently what I've been doing is I've been apologizing to myself, because there's times that you look at what happened and you blame yourself, but realizing that there was a part that the other person contributed to. And oftentimes we look for an apology from that person that contributed to areas that they haven't necessarily spoken of. But I got to the point, even recently, where I started to accept my apology, because sometimes you can be upset with yourself because you thought you knew what you thought you knew, but then you found out you really didn't know. But now the awareness is there. And then I always go back to, looking at what signs did I ignore? Because when you are a strong, vibrant person, you have a tendency to think, well, I can handle what is thrown at me. Like I can handle, if somebody says, can you handle this? I'm like, oh yeah, I can do it. I can really do it. But for me, I would take on too much, and I would take away time from actually developing myself. And so because of that, I would get overwhelmed. And then when they would want to communicate, tell me what was going on with them, I would kind of just like brush it off, like, okay, whatever. But now it's to the point where, even in my own space now, I am enjoying the self-evaluation part right now, like evaluating the areas that I'm going to improve in, and enjoying the evolving, going through the process of getting a little bit better every single day. So by the end of the year, I'm a whole year better instead of a whole month better a year later.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, yes. I love
Tweet that. Tweet that.
Right, that part. Listen, I can appreciate like just your self-awareness because I feel like in my own dating experience, like
Hmm.
furthermore, I just feel like the way that you took the time to really self-reflect, you maybe went a little overboard with it and blaming yourself and stuff like that. But I wish some of the people I dated actually took the blame because they just really don't see like I don't know what it is, but I've had a couple of experiences, with some really people with some really narcissistic traits where just projection, 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 and just like denial, gaslighting, no accountability. And I'm just like, it, and so I have found myself, I had found myself in a place of just overcompensating, trying to over-explain, and sometimes even taking the blame for things that I didn't need to take the blame for, and trying to apologize for things that I didn't necessarily I didn't do wrong because because of the projection. You know what I mean? And so what I've been learning lately, which has been something that has been really hard for me, is really trying to put myself first. I haven't been able to put myself first for years. Putting myself first for a long time felt very uncomfortable because I thought it was selfish. I thought it was inconsiderate. And so I would extend and exhaust myself just trying to put everything and everyone, especially in relationships, before me. And by the time it was done, I was drained. My mental health was in the garbage. You know what I mean? My self-esteem would be, completely just kind of, messed with. And so I had to get to a place in my life where I had to do a lot of introspective work. I had to do a lot of, just kind of reevaluating how I see myself, how I value myself, and not kind of being in a place where I throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean? And just give everything away. And so I've learned how to measure how much I give. I've really learned how to guard my heart, and I've learned not to accept projection, but to put up shields. Because when you're an empathetic person dealing with somebody who isn't empathetic at all, man, it can really just kind of toil in your spirit. Like there's a lot going on there, and it's really spiritual a lot of the times. It can be spiritual a lot of the times as well, because you're not wrestling against sometimes flesh and blood. So sometimes you wrestling with some demons. Let's be clear, okay? And we're talking male or female. I'm not just here, trying to bash anybody. We're just talking male, female. We could sometimes you just like, who sent you? You know what I mean? Because you've clearly been sent to destroy my mission and to distract. So all that to say, I've had to learn how to take care of me first, and really always take time to sit back and just meditate and think about where I'm at and what is actually happening in in a relationship, whether it be dating or whatever, committed, and really just learn how to pull back when it is no longer serving me positively. So
you said two things that stuck out to me. The first one that you said was that you were apologizing and overcompensating for their deficiencies.
Yeah.
And I think that most women were nurturers, and so we're always going to, and not all women are nurturers, I'm sure there are many men that can attest to that. I'm a nurturer. I have a kid, and I get it, so we are going to try to extend grace. We're going to try to be understanding. We're going to try to, figure out, solve the puzzle of why they are the way that they are, and then try to become the missing puzzle piece. And the second thing that you said was we are wrestling against many different things. Some of it is spiritual, some of it is ego, and some of it is also residue from previous heartbreaks. There are a lot of partners. I can't say a lot because I've been in 4 relationships in my life. 2 of them were less than 6 months, so I really hate counting those. But yeah,
right.
Wow.
I feel like there's credit. I feel like when your credit like renews, I feel like they should just vanish after.
Yeah, they were not like I couldn't get the full college credits for those.
Yeah.
Not even elective credits for those.
Wow.
But but some of the failure was fighting against their heartbreak and fighting against their hardened heart, because they have been in previous relationships where they've been taken advantage of. If you have a guy, you know, like one of the things that Bryan was saying was that, you know, he felt like it was his fault. And I think that there's a lot of pressure on men to, because we expect them to be the leader. We expect for them to initiate. We expect for them to do everything. And even when you'll even hear like older men say, you know, if the relationship ends, man, what did you do? You know, they always talk to the man and say, man, what did you do to mess this up? You know, you had a good thing. And so I think that a lot of the blame naturally goes to the man, and it's unfair because the reality is there are 2 people that committed to that relationship. And it is, I never have thought about it this way until recently, but it is never just one person's fault why the relationship ends.
Right.
There is contribution by both parties. Either you willingly stayed in a relationship after you saw unhealthy behavior, and now you're mad and now you're upset because you know you got played and you saw it all along, you know, the whole time. And so you're not really angry at them, you're angry at yourself because you stayed in it longer than you should have. You saw this the whole time, you know. So those 2 things, we're definitely wrestling against a lot of things, and it's important to know what you're wrestling against to know if it's even worth staying in and trying to work through. Because I do believe there are some relationships that, you know, you can work through. If you're dealing with someone who has a history of having a broken heart, you know, you could be the person that changes that pattern, changes the cycle, you know, but that doesn't mean that you become the person to heal them. Like, you cannot heal anybody else. You can't do good things to try to compensate for the areas that they're broken in. They have to be willing to do that work, and they have to do it themselves. So those 2 points you raised, and I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of those.
And you know, you just like kind of flashed a situation back into my mind, Ashley, when you said what you said, because just I'm gonna be transparent right now about just a situation that happened to me in a previous, you know, in a dating situation where we had a mutual friend, and I had been like, you know, kind of confiding and just kind of venting to our mutual friend and just saying, I was telling her that, you know, like, I'm just frustrated because you know, I feel like I know that he's lying to me about whatever the situation. We had gotten into it. I know he's lying to me. I know he's cheating. We're supposed to be in a committed situation, and he's not being honest. And so I was trying to force him to tell me the truth because I valued the truth, and the truth was just something that was very important to me. For me, truth, even if it's painful, it still brings me peace because I have resolve in what is happening, and you're also confirming that I'm not crazy, basically. You know what I mean? Are you frozen? Oh no, you're frozen there. Right. And so I what I needed to kind of move on was truth, and he did not have the level of integrity to give me that, because for him, his ego was more important to protect than his integrity. But I didn't realize that at the time. You know what I mean? And so she's a girlfriend that I was confiding this in. She said something to me that really like kind of slapped me and made me wake up. And she said, "This does not make any sense, Arian." She's like, "You are only going to make yourself and him miserable. Either you're the type of woman that can go along with what he's doing and say nothing because that's what he wants. He wants a woman that he can do what he wants, and she won't say nothing. You be his main, and he may fool around and do stuff on the side, and then that will work. But if you know you're not that type of woman and you need honesty and you need truth and you need integrity, then what you're doing is also making yourself miserable because you're never going to get what you need and he's not going to get what he needs. So you're just only making you're making both of you miserable. So you have to make a decision for yourself. Are you willing to be that woman, or do you want something better?
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
And I said, she just got me by the ponytail and had me all the way together because I was really trying to force him to have integrity, and he didn't want to. And you can't force that on anyone. It's either in them or it's not. It's either important to them or it's not. And so I really had to I was trying to force something to work and when I wasn't never going to work. And so I had to make a decision for myself, which was healthy and it was hurtful. And of course, the disappointment and all that stuff that goes with it. But I really had to take time and just say, this is just, like, why should I have to force someone to be honest with me when there's so many people out there who will be? Why not get what you want? If you're single, you might as well get what you want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Listen, that's so good. In my prayer time, and this is like totally unrelated to breakups, but it fits so perfectly. When you were talking about seeking the truth. And I think that sometimes we're seeking proof of what we already know. And so in my prayer time, again, totally unrelated to breakups, Holy Spirit said, learn how to accept the truth without needing the proof. And in this context, it was talking about my faith.
Right.
Accepting the fact that I'm in a space right now where I don't know what's happening day to day, but God is proving himself to me in a different capacity. And so I know the truth that he will provide. I know that he is this, person to me. But what I'm experiencing right now, I don't see the proof of it right now. And so he was challenging me to accept the truth without needing the proof. And so it fits so perfectly in this because a lot of times we have discernment and we see things, we feel things, and we're like, something is off. And we'll stay in it until we have the proof. And then by the time we get the proof, it's too late. And
there's so much damage that's been done.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so I have learned in relationships or even just in dating, to trust my discernment, to trust the Holy Spirit, and constantly being in prayer with him, because if something is revealed or if something makes me uncomfortable, I'm so self-aware that I know when something is off. I know something is wrong. And so I will confront it. And if I don't feel as if they are taking it seriously or they are lying or they're like, no, you're totally off. And I know I'm not off. Like, I'm going to exit gracefully before you even have a chance to prove to me that I'm right. Right.
Girl, and I've had to learn this, I think, more recently in my life because I was like gung-ho. I need the evidence. I need to catch you red-handed, or I just need to know it. And I've learned that you don't need to know. Sometimes you just don't need to know. Sometimes, like, I don't know that I've ever been in a situation where my gut was off.
Jeez.
I don't know that I've always ended up staying too long and finding out that everything I was feeling was completely 100% right. And if I had exited at the stage where I realized that something was off, I would have saved myself a whole lot of heartache and heartbreak and just just grieving You know what I mean? I wouldn't have to grieve as long as I did because I wouldn't have invested as much as I did for the stayed, you know.
But you know why we need that proof is because we think we're detectives and investigators.
Right.
So
listen, I've been guilty of being Carmen now. But
we're like, so we're like, you know what, we need proof as if it's the court of law, you know, because we think we are part-time investigators.
Because if the glove don't fit, how you gonna quit? You need to acquit if it don't fit, right? I mean, so like you need to make that glove fit, and that's always been my kind of like prerogative, and it's just been, you know, I think y'all are frozen. What's going on here now tonight? You still there, Ashley? Well, while we're resetting, I just want to make sure that if you're in the room right now, that what we're talking about the breakup. And I see Jessica joined. That's my girl, my sis. She said, you can't force integrity. And that is 1000% true. You cannot force integrity. We're talking about the breakup. We're talking about unhealthy breakups. We're going to get into healthy breakups and just how to navigate the emotions of having to go through the grieving process. And so I have Ashley with us and Coach Bryan, who I think is just trying to get his maybe connection sorted out because we don't see him right now. Coach Bryan, you there?
It's going in and out, so hopefully you can.
Ooh. Yeah, Ashley, I think you're a little sticky as well right now. I'm not really sure. But yes, we are talking. So make sure that you tag your friends in the comment. You share this video because everyone at some point has gone through a breakup, and it's been difficult. It's been challenging. It's been hard. You've questioned your decisions. You've wondered if you should go back. And the truth of the matter is, if there was a reason to break up in the first place, then maybe you should go ahead and stay broken up. Now, of course, there's always exceptions to the rules, but I mean, that's a 1 in a million type of situation, I feel like. So, so Ashley, you're back. Thank you for coming back. I don't know what's going on with Bryan. Let me see if he said anything here.
Mine was refreshing a little bit, so I couldn't hear for a little bit, but I'm here.
Okay. Well, we hear now. So we were talking a lot about unhealthy breakups and what that looks like and just navigating that. But have you ever had a healthy breakup, Ashley?
I have.
Okay.
Well, let me think back. So, in an official relationship, I don't know. I actually haven't had a healthy breakup, and the reason why is because even if I was okay with the breakup, I had experiences where they were not, from a mental health space. And so I felt the responsibility to kind of help them with, accepting this breakup, because it got to the point where they were, talking about suicide and you never know if that is manipulative, if that's manipulative, or if they are genuinely feeling the heartbreak, that deeply. Because I am great.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
But I think that there are some partners that are they have never been exposed to a good partner.
Right.
So when one comes along, they latch onto it. And that's for me as well. Not saying that I'm just so great. There have been guys that I'm just like, man, like they are the difference. They are totally different from anything that I've ever experienced. And I that's what I want, And when there is a disconnection from that, like, it's like, dang, it hurts, but I've never had a healthy disconnect as far as relationships are concerned, but I have had healthy disconnects in the dating, where we were dating, exploring to see, you know, if we want to commit to a relationship. And I've had unhealthy experiences with that where they weren't wanting to accept that. But then there were some cases where I'm just like, you know what, I think you are a great guy. I either don't have the time to really commit to this, and I think it's unfair to you. I'm not in the right space to commit as much as I would need to.
Right.
To you. Or it could be that I think you're a great guy, you're a godly man, but I don't think that we're God's best for one another.
Right.
I think that there are more suitable partners for us. And so I don't want to, and I would never say it this way, but it's what I mean. I don't want to waste any more of my time or your time, you know, exploring what we already know or what I already know to be true for me, you know. So I think that I've never had a healthy breakup. But then again, I've only been in a few relationships. But going forward, I don't plan on breaking up with anybody else again. But if I do, if I do, because the possibility is there.
Yeah.
If I do, the dating for me is different. I'm actually in a space, like it's so different for me now that I'm actually looking forward to it instead of like dreading, like, oh my gosh, I'm back out there again. I joke all the time, you know, about like, oh my gosh, I don't want this, I don't want that, or da 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 da. But the reality is, I'm actually excited and looking forward to dating again because I'm in a different place.
Right.
You know, when you are whole or have done a lot of healing work, you know, as you'll attract a different type of partner, a different type of man. And so the caliber of man is different.
Correct.
You know, I'm interested in and that pursues or shows interest. And so I'm looking forward to just exploring that because I'm healthy now.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
No, but I hear what you're saying because, and hey, Antonelle, thank you for joining. I hope you're ready. Yeah, I really hope that if you haven't caught the beginning of this, that you get the replay because it's going to change you. It's going to really, I just love this conversation. We're just being transparent about the breakup. So make sure you tag some friends and share if you can. Jessica says, right, wholeness hits different. Do you hear me? It really, really, really does. And I think in the last 2 years or so, I've always been kind of working on my mental health, but specifically in the last 2 years because, you know, I've gone through so many changes, so much loss. You know, most of you know that I lost my mother at the top of last year. Yep. It just, you know, sometimes you get, and so that was a really big hit for me. And then just other things that were going on, even with just my health, that it was just really taxing on my mental health. And I had to be very intentional about being conscious and just being mindful and just making sure that I was okay, because I could have easily just gone off the rails, you know what I mean, and fallen into a deep depression. And I was able to keep my head above water through all of the challenges. And so I think that I've seen such a growth in myself. I've seen myself mature. I've seen myself become more aware, more conscious. And it's to the point that even in like my dating life, you know, where I'm able to just kind of like dismiss situations a lot quicker than I was before, because I also know my worth. I also know what I want, what I don't want. And I'm also just not willing to compromise my mental health anymore. And just my peace in general. Yeah. Like I am so protective of my peace these days that that I don't give a chance for anything, and I'm not even talking about romantic relationships, even friendships. If you start to attack my peace, if I feel stressed out when I'm around you, then I'm have to reevaluate or even just kind of like redirect our relationship. It looks like Ashley's Coach Bryan is back. Hey, can you hear us?
Welcome back. I actually think it might be the platform as well.
You know what? I told you technology said, yeah, I can hear you. I think.
Yeah, maybe StreamYard's acting up tonight.
I think technology, something's going on.
Yeah, Ryan, we're not hearing you. We're hearing about every. Yeah, you're frozen, Bryan. I don't know what to say. But we'll wait for you to come back in now.
I don't know what's going on. But this is what I can say. Like, ever since you told me about
Woo! Let me tell you something. The devil is absolutely busy. Do you hear me?
Busy.
My whole. Do you understand that my whole power just went out in this place?
Did
Yeah.
it?
came back, but it just came back on. Praise God. So that's why I lost internet for a second, lost everything, but I'm back.
Gotcha. I'm
like
glad
a bad habit.
I'm glad you're back.
Praise God. Sorry, guys. We were just having some technical difficulties, and I think Brian's gone for good now, unfortunately. But we'll have him back another time. I promise we will, because we're almost coming to an end soon. But I was in the middle of saying something before it got cut off completely. Don't remember what it was, though.
I think you were talking about not prolonging or not continuing something, like you're able to cut off something because you're protective of your peace.
Yes, thank you so much, Ashley. I love your active listening. You're just such a good listener. But yes.
Training here.
So no, I was just saying, that I'm so protective of my peace, especially of late, because I know what it is to be so crippled by anxiety that I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't function, couldn't think straight, couldn't make good decisions, because I did not take care of me first.
Yeah.
And so since then, I have really learned how to manage that, and also just be more aware and just sensitive to what is no longer serving me and what is not good also for my mental health. Especially someone who does struggle with anxiety. I cannot be with someone who is going to continually put me in situations that are insensitive to what I struggle with, which is anxiety, right? And so not to say that I'm never going to have anxiety or they're never going to make a mistake, but I'm just watching if you are even conscious or just, sensitive to the because I'm very forthcoming with it. I mean, if you've ever seen a Lifeboat, you would know that I show my life on here. And so if someone is not willing to even learn about what anxiety looks like, what it is, and how it could, and what could trigger me, especially if I communicate it with you, then I just don't. I know that you are not the one for me. So, yeah. But I've come a mighty long way, so praise God.
We both, we've had a lot of private conversations, and the one thing that that I've noticed, and we've talked about, and I believe you're okay just sharing this piece, is that we have been able to see our growth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like almost like a tangible thing. Like we've been able to see it.
100.
And it feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in a space now where we're able to advocate for ourselves and advocate for what we deserve,
Yeah.
and not even just what we deserve, but what another person, what they may deserve. Because the reality is, although we may be great women, we still may not be the best partner for them. Mm-hmm. We may not be suitable for them. That doesn't take away our greatness,
right?
Or our greatness in any way. Mm-hmm. But even if we recognize, I think it's a sign of maturity that you recognize, like, you are a great man.
Mm-hmm.
But I just believe that there is somebody that is more suitable for you. I'll give you an example. Of course I grew up as a pastor's kid, mm-hmm. but I also had the privilege of seeing how my mother served my father. And I was raised, seeing that and groomed to perform in that same manner whenever I get married.
Right.
And it got to the point where I said, you know what, when I get married, this is how I want to cater to my spouse, my husband. Right. I want to serve them in this capacity. I want to care well, for them. Mm-hmm. And I watched my aunt serve her husband. They've been there, I think, 25 years or 24 years in this past April. And I've watched her serve. I've watched her serve him even when they don't get along. Mm-hmm. I've watched her consistency of caring well for him, regardless of how much of a jerk he may have been in a moment or mm-hmm. whatever disagreement they may be having. In that moment, she has been consistent in how she cares for her husband, and I've watched that. And so one of the things that I want to contribute whenever I do get married, and these are things that I look for when I'm in a committed relationship with someone, like, is there opportunity for me to serve this person in that capacity? Or are they the type of person where they don't want this? I don't want you cooking for me. I don't want you cleaning. I don't want you, catering to me. There are some men that are just like, yeah, I don't want that. I think it's weird, but to each his own.
I haven't found one yet, but bless them.
Well, see, I dated some who did not need me. And so I constantly felt like, well, I'm not needed in this relationship. But then I started dating someone where that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted somebody to care well for them in the capacity that I wanted to serve. So it let me know, like, you know what? I want to date someone that allows me to be me and allows me to serve in the way that I want to serve. Serving, I know it's not one of the 5. Well, it is one of the love languages, isn't it? Acts of service.
Acts of service, yeah.
And so for me, that is a love language that I like to give. My love language that I like to receive is quality time. But recognizing what I like to do as far as my contribution to my partner has served me well. I believe that as I begin dating again, those are things that I'm looking for. Is there space in your life for me to actually help, to actually be a helpmate, to actually need my contribution, because I don't want to build the rest of, to build a life with someone who doesn't need me in any capacity, because I'm constantly going to be trying to find ways to fit into life, so it may just be a preference of mine, but yeah, I want to be with someone that allows me the opportunity to serve in the capacity that I want to serve in, So,
well, how are you going to be a help me if they don't have anything for you to help them with?
Listen. And I think that help me, it's so different for every person.
Of course.
Everybody needs a different type of help or different type of assistance, And so I'm learning the type of helpmate that I have been groomed to be, but not just groomed to be, but actually would enjoy being, to someone. And I don't have to settle, for anything less than that.
And I completely 1000% endorse that message. Bryan, are you back with us?
Are you frozen?
Do you want to build a snowman? I was laughing a little bit earlier because I just looked over at the comments and I saw that Antonelle wrote, "The system don't like Bryan."
Oh. Yes. Well, I would like to share something that I have been. I'm getting ready to start facilitating a class for teen dating.
Okay.
Christian teens, and one of the conversations that I have with my daughter, there are 2 things when we talk about dating that I tell her to ask herself or remind her of when she is interested in a person.
Right.
First thing that I say to her is, what is the goal of the relationship? I'll ask, well, why do you want to be in a relationship with them?
Right.
And she'll say, oh, well, he treats me nice. He makes me laugh. And I'm just like, okay, cool. Those are kind of surface things. Those are great qualities, great things to have. But what else? And now she's getting to a point where she's just like, oh, you know what? He pushes me to be better, and we push one another, to be better. We respect one another's boundaries. We grow together. Like her conversation is different, what she's looking for, because relationships have a goal, and then the second thing that I say to her is that although we would love to think that every relationship is going to last forever, the reality is that many of them won't. And
Right.
so you want to make sure that your contribution to that relationship is something that you can be proud of. So those are the two things that I'm sharing with my teenage daughter, and that I'm sharing with our Christian teens as they begin to go out there in that world. Like, what's the goal of the relationship? Do you just want to be in a relationship because you want to change your status?
Right.
Or is there a benefit to you all being together and doing life activities together? And then secondly, are you going to be proud of the contribution that you make to that relationship? And that can, go across, that can spread far from engaging in sexual activity or having conversations that you shouldn't be having, somebody putting you in compromising situations or tempting you to do illegal things. Like, you want to make sure that your contribution to that relationship is something that you can be proud of, because when it's all said and done, you want to be able to look back and say, I did good things in that relationship. Or you're going to look back and be like, dang, you know what? They're bitter, and they're bitter for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's great. And I wish it was like a course like that when I was a teenager, because I think when I was a teenager, I definitely could have held the title of the cutoff queen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, one thing was off with their heads. Like I was done. I was absolutely the cutoff queen, but it was obviously a defense mechanism, just to avoid anybody ever having the opportunity to hurt me until, eventually, well, you're going to have to experience some hurt, But yeah, that would have been a great course. And I'm excited for the teenagers who are going to take that course, because man, there's such valuable information, and just sounds like also just teaching them to be true to themselves and integral about how they move, because because at teenagers, a lot of times you don't even think about integrity, especially in the world of social media and just wanting to be validated. People compromise their integrity all the time. Like, social media is an amazing thing, and I'll never knock it, because look, we're using it right now to just to help people.
Yeah.
But also on social media comes a side of just major temptation. You know what I mean? To just there's just everything you can find on social media. You know what I mean? And I think social media has been a contributor to a lot of people's relationships and marriages breaking up as well. You know what I mean? Because of just the access that you have to so many people. And it's just like, it just presents you your like one desire after the next. You know what I mean? And if you're not tempered, and you're not level-headed and grounded in not only faith and in your relationship, that temptation will take you overboard many of times and cause you to have another failed relationship. So I think you froze there for a second. Ashley, are you here with us? Oh boy. Yeah, the platform is acting crazy tonight. They don't want you to hear this breakup information. They don't want you to heal. See, that's what it is. But we're gonna push through all the technical difficulties on tonight. Ashley, we're not really hearing you. I'm just going to put you down for just a second. So if you're now joining, we are talking about the breakup. We talked about unhealthy breakups. We talked about healthy breakups. And we are just kind of navigating through, just our own experiences on what it looks like to grow from breakup to breakup, and just finding your relationships that are going to be, that you're not compromising who you are and what you value to be with somebody, because your mental health and your peace is way more important than trying to force someone into a place that they're not ready for. And so earlier I said, and Jessica kind of reiterated in the comments, was you cannot force integrity on anyone. And so as much as you would love for someone to just be truthful, just to be honest, just to be respectful, you can't force anyone to have those qualities if they're not in them. And so pushing them to be that, asking them to be that, pleading with them to do it, it's just not going to bring you it's just not going to work. You know what I mean? It's either they are or they're not. Right. And I had to learn that. I was giving a little story earlier about how I had to learn that, or how I kind of got a girlfriend kind of slapped me in the face with it and just kind of said, either you're going to be content with being his main chick and him having side chicks all the time and not complain about it, or you're going to go ahead and leave him because he doesn't have the integrity that you need, and or the type of relationship that you want to be in. But you can't force him to be who you want him to be if he doesn't want to be that. So you have to make the decision for yourself. Do you want to be the woman who just sits and is okay with it and just maybe does her own thing as well? Or do you want to be with someone who has integrity, who is honest, and and who is respectful? And so I had to really stop and think about it and be like, well, dang, I'm forcing someone to be truthful with me when they just don't want to be. So how about I go find someone who's actually going to value who I am and what I have to offer? And so sometimes you have to make some calls like that, even if it's going to break your own heart. You have to make some calls to just leave some people alone because they're not ready. Either they're not ready to handle what you have to give, or they don't want to give you what they have to give. And so you have to just make those decisions for yourself. Self-care is sometimes walking. I saw somebody post that today. Self-care is sometimes just walking away. You have to be able to walk away and just take care of you first. Because if you don't take care of you first, you're going to end up on somebody's couch, in somebody's hospital, in somebody's mental ward, because you've allowed your mental health to deteriorate to the point that you cannot function anymore because of a relationship. Nah. Let me tell you something, sis. Let me tell you something, bro. Don't let anyone steal your joy. Do not let anyone steal your peace. That is yours, and protect it at all costs. I'm going to say that again. Do not let anyone steal your joy, and do not anyone violate your peace, because that is yours and it's your right to have it. And if they don't come and add peace to your life, if they don't add, happiness to your life, then they need to go. Period. At all costs, Alicia. At all costs, because nobody is worth your mental health. Nobody. And I'm not saying that you cut people off because they made a mistake. No. People make mistakes, but are they accountable? Are they self-aware? And what are they doing to make sure that that it doesn't happen again? And vice versa, you're with yourself. You have to be self-reflective. And if you don't have that on both sides, and there's not reciprocity in making sure that you're working at becoming better people together, then go ahead and just leave that one alone too. Yup, period. Like, just leave it alone. Do you hear me? Because all you're going to do is cause yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of pain, and you're going to drive yourself to the point where you make yourself sick because you didn't listen. You just didn't want to recognize the red flags that you saw in the beginning. So the last part of this conversation, while I'm maybe waiting for, I don't know if Ashley's going to be able to get back on here because we've been having technical difficulties all night. Ashley and Bryan have been, this platform has been kicking us out over and over. But you have me for now. Hopefully that's okay. Navigating the emotions of a breakup can be very, very, very hard. So we talked about healthy breakups. We talked about unhealthy breakups. And I just want to talk about the emotions of the breakup. So when you've now come to the conclusion and to the place of just being like, it is over. Like, we have realized that this is not compatible anymore. This is not working anymore, and it's not serving us anymore. that can be a very painful place. And I think it's sometimes even harder to grieve someone that is still alive than someone who's gone, than that's somebody who's passed away. Because eventually, as someone has passed away, you can accept that, listen, like, they're not coming back. It is what it is. Like, they've gone on to a better place, whatever, you know what I mean? And you start to learn to adjust and move through life knowing that they're no longer going to be here. But there's a different kind of grief in grieving someone who is alive and well and kicking and still maybe in your face. You might still see them, you know, at work, down the street, at church, whatever it is, wherever you may see them, in the same friend group, on Instagram, on Facebook, you know what I mean? You continually see them, and that can play on your emotions. And sometimes we can go through periods of just doubting if we made the right decision. Sometimes we can just relapse and be like, ooh, you know, and get scared and want to kind of climb back and hold on to it. But go through the grieving process and just stick to your guns. And here is why. Sometimes you have to allow your head to override your heart. And that can be so challenging, especially when you are somebody who's compassionate and empathetic, and just hopeful, because the heart is hopeful. Because if we even look at what love really is, especially if you loved for real, love is really it's a hopeful thing. It's kind. It just never gives up. It's forgiving. It's hopeful. And so sorry, I'm just here reading some messages from Bryan and Ashley. I think they're having some. Yes. So I think that sometimes we have to kind of sit back and just remember the facts. Just remember the facts, because our hearts can be foolish and deceitful and deceiving, I should say, at times. And we want to, like, make it work, and we want to, like, give them a chance and But the truth of the matter is that believe when you see who they are, believe them. You know what I mean? When you see that they have not, or the relationship is no longer serving you, they have not cared for you, they have dismissed you, they have mistreated you, they're lying to you, whatever it may be that has caused for the relationship to deteriorate to the place where you now need to break up. Or it doesn't always have to be even toxic things like that. It could just be lack of compatibility, lack of time, just realizing that you're not going in the same direction. Whatever it may be, just make sure that when you are even revisiting that you consider these things. And what I do now, and when I'm going through relationships that I see, in dating and whatever, I always make a list. Because writing has become a thing for me. I keep a mindfulness journal. I consider my thoughts, my bodily sensations, my, what I'm feeling in the moment. I write it. To help me process how I'm feeling. It also helps me just to relieve anxiety. And so what I have done is I just sometimes make pro and con lists on who I'm dating. They don't need to know about it, but I'll make a list that says, like, why. I'll make two lists. I'll make why why this could work and why this will not work. Ashley's back. Hey, Ashley.
I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry.
Girl, it's a platform, and listen, the devil is busy, okay? Because we are talking truth on tonight, and we are delivering people from the spirit of the breakup. Do you hear me? And so it's giving us a hard time. No, but in all seriousness, I'm actually here now at the place where I'm just talking about going through the emotions of the breakup, and when sometimes we are tempted to go back and forth. And so what I was just telling the people was that we sometimes feel like, I told them that sometimes we have to allow our heads to override our hearts, because when we get to because sometimes, grieving someone who's still alive is harder than grieving someone who has passed on, because you can see them still living. You can see them on Facebook, on Instagram, in your friend groups, at your church, at work, wherever you've met them. You continually run into them, and it's a constant reminder. And sometimes because our hearts are hopeful, especially if you've loved them. I was going on about 1 Corinthians 13 what talks about love. It's hopeful. It never gives up. You know what I mean? It just always wants to to forgive and to try and to be long suffering and and that's what it really is. But sometimes you have to be able to love yourself first, and you have to put yourself first, and so you cannot allow your heart to overrule your head, because your head, sometimes you have to use the logic of, hold on, but I love this person, but this person is dismissive of me. This person is not accountable. This person is not, they're not self-reflective. This person is abusive. This person, this person runs in and out on me every time that they get upset. Like, this person triggers me, whatever it may be. Or it could just be, we are not compatible. We don't have the time for one another right now. We're not going in the same direction. It doesn't always have to be toxic things, but you have to also remind yourself that, you can't continue on in this place. And so what I was telling them was that I make a practice of making lists. And I keep them, with me on my phone or wherever I write them. And I revisit them when my mind starts to go back to that place. Because I've made lists. Listen, I've got a couple of lists probably still on my phone that says why you should not go back to so-and-so. I promise you I do. I have them. I'm like, why it's not going to work with so-and-so. And I have lists. And matter of fact, let me pull one up that I can find. I'm not going to say who it was for, but just to give you an example of what it looks like.
Yeah, while you're pulling that up, you said something about grieving. It can be easier to grieve someone who's no longer here than someone who is.
Right.
And I think a lot of that comes because we have made space in our life for that person. And when that person no longer fits into that space, we feel that missing something. And so we're grieving the routines, we're grieving the patterns, we're grieving, our day-to-day engagement that we used to have, because now it's not there anymore. And so it's an interruption of what we've known for however long we've known it. And so that grieving, it sucks, because like you said, I know that something is missing. I know that they're no longer a part of my life in this capacity, but I can still see them living their best life. And it hurts, someone who's gone on to be with the Lord. You're like, I miss them, but I can accept the fact that I'll never see them again.
Man, that's exactly what I was saying. Hey, Bishop Sean Lewis, that's our YLC, that's a YLC brother. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Hey there.
So I got a list here. This is so I picked one from like a good couple of years back, because I just don't want nobody, because I know my exes are probably, some of them are going to creep on here at some point because they see the breakup and think I'm talking about you. And yes, I'm talking about you. No, I'm joking. But this is one from a couple of years back. But it says why so-and-so isn't it, right? And as I'm reading this, I'm like, this is crazy that I even tolerated this, right? But it just goes to show just the mental health, the growth in just my self-worth and all that stuff. But it says, I don't have peace of mind that he will be faithful. That's the first one, girl. What was you doing? I don't have peace of mind that he will be faithful. I don't have peace of mind that he can take care of me. He's impulsive. His impulsive decisions make me uncomfortable. I never know where I'm going to stand with him. I'm scared to have to submit to him and have him lead me. He makes emotional decisions and goes with other women the minute we are off. I don't feel like he would be faithful. He loves attention and inappropriately entertains women. He says really mean and harsh things when he's upset. He's rigid and holds on to things for long. He has a major double standard. Had a set of rules for him and expects something totally different from me. example, crucifies me, or whatever. I'm not going into that because that's too much information and that's none of y'all business. But and then the biggest one was, actually, I don't even know if I should. It says he shows no interest in the lifeboat at all.
In the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the things that you do. Like, they don't have to be as engaged and as active as you are.
Yes.
But to be some sort of acknowledgement, like, hey babe, I see what you're doing.
Right.
Good luck with the show tonight, you know, I'm proud of you. Or I had a chance to tune in, you know, when I heard you say this, that, and the third, like, you know, it shows that they were paying attention, that they actually care.
Correct. And the reason I'm reading this, because do you not, and it's really not to dog anyone out, I promise you it's not, but do you hear how ridiculous that list is and how that relationship could not work? You know what I mean? And I, with my emotional, full of love heart, you know, wanting that thing, was considering at one point another chance with a person that I just wrote this whole list on why it won't work.
Yeah.
And now that I'm reading that list of why it wouldn't work, I was like, girl, you're crazy for even reconsidering another chance with this person when all the things I just wrote are massive red flags. And I keep those lists. Well, that one just happens to still be there because it's not even an issue anyway. It's a non-issue right now. But, you know, I kept that list because it was a reminder in times where I was emotional, or just like even getting, you know, weaker in my restraint, that this is why you can't go back.
Yeah.
That visual and reading that, like, you have to be like, dang, yes, that's right. Oh yeah, I remember when he made me feel that way. Da-da-da. And it's a way of holding my own self accountable to why it's not a healthy situation and why to remain broken up.
Yeah.
So that's just a tool for my sisters and my brothers. If you want to make one of yourself, I always make this is why so-and-so. You know, I always make a list because I have to hold myself accountable and say, like, hey, this is what I experienced.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've made lists as well. I've made them for different areas of my life. When it comes to the space I'm in now, you know, I am living by faith in this space and trusting God with doing this consultancy work full time. I'm not used to this space at all. And so I had to create a list as to why it was no longer beneficial to me to remain with the organization that I was with previously. The money was amazing. It was amazing. But what else? You know, was there anything meaningful that I gained from that relationship? And I think it's good for us to evaluate all of our relationships in that capacity with our friendships, business partnerships. You know, it's always good to document something because our memory fails us time and time again. Our heart will erase certain events that actually happened.
Yes.
Because we're like, you know, well, I love them, or I want to give them grace. And so we'll just forget how they made us feel when they hurt us in some capacity. So those lists are documenting how we felt in that moment.
Right.
As a writer, I'm in the middle of finishing a book talking about wilderness experiences. And what better way to write about it than sitting in the middle of one?
Right.
Like, I could have easily written about a previous wilderness experience, but writing while you're in it and talking about it while you're in it, it's a totally different form of communication. The messaging that you relay is differently because you have the anxiety that comes with this space. Your every emotion that you're feeling, you can document that.
And it's raw.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so once you come out of that wilderness experience, you're on the mountaintop, you know, or you're in the promised land or wherever, you know, you end up landing, you can look back and say, you know what, when I was in this wilderness experience, this is how I felt. But I can always trace back and know that even if I was in a wilderness experience, I know that something more is coming right after.
Right.
And so it serves as a reminder to us what we came out of and why we can't go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reminder, like write down the lessons that you learned, like in every relationship. That's why I do after a breakup, I'll write how I feel in that moment, like in close proximity to that breakup.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll wait 6 months and I'll look back and say, what did I actually learn from the breakup? And you learn so much about yourself, about the experience while you're experiencing it. And then you can look back, once you get out of it far enough, and you see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Trace it. And it should encourage you to know that, you know what? I can recover from anything. I can bounce back from anything. I can heal from anything. Listen.
Absolutely. Because I know there's been moments where I was snot crying on the floor, can't eat, like, my life is over.
Me too.
And as time went by, and as I, spent time just really looking after myself and just praying, and, eventually you come out of it. And now I look back, I'm that same person. I'm just like, what would I see in him anyways? He got weird lips.
What is so ugly after
that? I didn't even realize his glasses were Coke bottle-y.
I cannot.
You know what I mean? And you're just like, nah, like he's not even as cute as I thought he was. When the rosy glasses come off of you and like scales fall off your eyes, you're just like, this is who I was on the floor snotting over? No, ma'am. Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh. We see the truth.
Yeah, we do.
We see it. We're so disappointed because it's like we settled. And not just in like the looks department, but
I was just being funny, you know what I mean? But obviously
sometimes I have, I have settled in that department as well, because I think it's okay for us to pursue what we actually want, like pursue people that, meet our preferences.
Right.
There are way too many people walking this earth for us to settle. And my uncle, who is not a believer, but is very real, said it's too many people walking this earth for you to end up with somebody ugly. Okay.
Right.
He said, and when he said it, I knew he meant it like physically, but I took it a step, further and say, yeah, sure, maybe physically, but in character.
Mm-hmm.
It's too many people out here that have good character, that are, people of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
For me to be hanging around and waiting around and seeing what something is going to be from somebody who is trash. Like,
yeah. And I completely agree with that, because I mean, just look at, for example, I just was at a wedding last weekend, this weekend that just passed. And, just the love story, even of the couple who, shout out to Cherie and Patrick, whoop, whoop, that, they just got married and they've known each other since high school, were like best friends, or, really good friends, became best friends. And they're only now having their love story come to fruition like 30 years later, right? But at the time, like, they both were probably immature. They probably both had struggled with, as you're growing, integrity issues, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? But they finally got to a place where like kind of where time and life aligned for them. And this wasn't no struggle of, because it wasn't like they were on and off. It wasn't that, you know what I mean? It was just that they kind of met back up in life, or life allowed for the romance to kind of come into the picture.
Yeah.
And one thing I have to say is that the way that they look after one another, the way that they look at one another, the way that they're considerate of one another, like, it's the reciprocity for me. Do you hear me? He loves her and she loves him. He will do anything for her. She will do anything for him. Not to go Bonnie and Clyde like Jay-Z and Beyonce song, but like, they really have found their best friend, their soulmate, and like their I don't even know, whatever. But they found the person for, they
Yeah.
found their person.
Yeah.
They found their person, and that that inspired me, because I was just like, man, like, I can't afford to settle now after seeing this and witnessing this,
Yeah.
and knowing and getting to know them and individually, and just seeing how they move as people. I said to myself, nah, like, I cannot settle for nobody that is not gonna be gonna give me the energy that I'm giving, because if I'm seeing that it's possible. You know what I mean? And maybe the person who is meant to be is just maybe not even fully developed in their integrity yet, but they're working on it. You know what I mean? And I'm still developing and working on issues in my life where I can be a little stronger as well. And you know, and so that's why I just don't settle, because when that thing finally just kind of attaches, you can have a beautiful love story where you just are, where you know this is my person.
Yeah.
So, until I have that feeling, ain't nobody. No, you know what I mean? But I'm just not gonna settle.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you just said about developing integrity, because the reality is we should always be pursuing growth, or we should always be growing and developing.
Yeah.
And the reality is we've all done things that we're not proud of,
right?
You know, in previous relationships, and I do believe that you can develop integrity. You can develop character, like your character can change, you know. And if we really believe that that God can restore, God can heal, God can change us, then we have to really embrace it when it happens. You know, we are so good about putting people in a box of, you know, judging them based off of their actions in a point in time in their life where it made sense for them to behave that way.
Right.
You know, you respond differently when you're trying to survive a moment.
Right.
So we compromise in ways that we normally wouldn't when our back is against the wall, you know. And so developing integrity is important. And I think that is why you can see, like, if you see men who are involved in, or even women as well, I don't want to just say men, but you see people who are involved in like certain scandals, and you see them all over the media. And the first thing that I think of is, how long ago was that? What were the circumstances, you know, that led to that? The behavior that, you know, they're not proud of. And then secondly, I look at who they seem to be now.
Right.
You know, and I have seen time and time again where lapse of judgment turned into a scandal. Because you were trying to survive a moment, or because you made poor decisions. Growth has taken place.
Listen, anxiety can lead you to make really bad decisions as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so you can look back and you can see that growth, you know, just like we were talking about earlier, we can see our own growth. And if we're really honest, we need to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know, if they used to be a certain way, we have to trust what we see now. We have to trust what's in front of us now.
Right.
Until, you know, we start that old self, you know, like, oh, you are this person, you know. But some people do change. People do grow up to mature, you know. So I love that when you said, you know, they're still developing integrity. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, not even just to, you know, if I even go Bible, you know, because this is the Lifeboat now, and we talk about mental health, but we also talk about faith. But I did a Bible teaching a while back on how, you know, how anxiety and trauma can cause you to make bad decisions, and it not necessarily mean that you have character issues, but it could just be a momentary lapse of judgment. And I talked about how when Jesus told Peter that he was going to betray him, and he was like, what? Me? Absolutely not, Jesus. I would never. And the truth of the matter is, he really meant that thing, and he was sincere when he said, I would never betray you. Right? But and a lot of people don't really consider the fact that Peter watched Jesus be snatched away. He watched him be beaten. He watched him be stripped. He watched him be, all taken away. And he also realized that there was a mob out there looking for anyone who was with Jesus to tear them. You know what I mean? And so when the mob now asked him, weren't you with him? You sound just like him. You look just like him. You dress like him. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know. Sorry to that man. Right. I don't know who this man is. Sorry to this man. He was that meme, right? And he did that in that moment because it was self-preservation. It was fear. It was anxiety. It was the trauma that he just experienced, and realizing that skin for skin, a man will just do just about anything for his own life. That's Bible. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, when our backs are up against the wall, we can do some things that we're just not proud of. But he was remorseful after. He had to, develop in some ways his own integrity. And that's why after all of that had happened, that same Peter before the crucifixion was scaredy pants and vicious and had no patience and was ready to cut off your ear. But post crucifixion, post Holy Ghost, Peter could stand up and say, you can hang me, but I'm going to profess the gospel of Jesus Christ and who he is. And he can walk up in a temple and boldly say it amongst the Pharisees, what he believed in, and not be moved. And so people can develop, people can learn from their mistakes, and people can make bad decisions because of, circumstances, like you said earlier. But then learn from those circumstances and become integral and stronger people for the future in future decisions. And so don't ever write anybody off, because when God is in it, I'm preaching better than y'all are amen. No, but he can change everything about who you are when you are truly convicted, because that's what he said, when you are truly converted, Peter.
Preacher.
You are truly converted. So when you are, then you can truly make better decisions and develop in your integrity. So thank you, Taylor, for joining, and I'm glad that I'm preaching and you are appreciating the word. I love that amen right there. Amen.
Yes, amen.
But with that said, Ashley, before we go, because I know we've been having technical difficulties all night and we've been on here for a while, but do you have anything that you want to say in closing about this topic, or just anything that you just really feel like you want to kind of add to the conversation?
I think the conversation was really, really thorough tonight. We got into the nitty-gritty about things. I feel really good, after this conversation, which just further lets me know, like, man, the growth that has taken place, like there isn't a ounce of residue of bitterness. Thinking back to previous relationships, I've gotten to a place where I'm just like, I wish them well. Like, I wish them in every area of their life. I hope the relationships that they're in now, I hope that they prosper, even if I felt wronged, in the relationship at the time. It's just like, you know what? People change, people grow. I wasn't the best partner for them. They weren't the best for me, So I'm grateful for tonight's discussion. And I would just remind everybody to be true, like you said, to who you are. Do the work that you need to do to heal and to learn who you are. Learn what you like, learn what you don't like, learn what your non-negotiables are before putting yourself back out there to date. And then keep in mind that when you begin dating, don't always have an end game in mind. Every relationship won't end up in marriage, but
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that you can't build a relationship with someone and establish a good friendship
Mm-hmm.
uh, with someone. So don't go on the first date planning the wedding. You
Correct.
just get to know them and enjoy the process of dating. Eat some good food, go see some places,
Mm-hmm.
live, explore something, do something that you've never done before, and do it with a stranger. That way, if you don't like it, you ain't got to think about it again, and you ain't got to see them no more.
Right.
You to remind you that I didn't like this, but live, because we don't have as much time as we think we do.
Do you
So
hear me?
listen, so we don't have time to waste.
Taylor,
So
Taylor said facts. Facts.
facts.
All right.
Period.
Period. Right. Um, so yes, I mean, I love that. I love it. Live your life. Enjoy the process. Don't be so caught up in the future. Don't be caught up in the past. I love
Yeah.
what you said there. But live for the moment and enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Because when we get too caught up in the future or too caught up in our past, we never get to really be grounded in what we're experiencing, and we
Yeah.
miss the moment. We miss the experience and just even the lesson that we can learn in that. So
Yeah.
that's good. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you tonight.
Me
And
too.
Bryan, unfortunately, Bryan was just, this platform was just not really allowing him in on here tonight, and I just really missed, having his male perspective. But maybe we can have a part 2 of something sometime where we can collaborate. Yeah, and do something like this again, because I think it would have been really interesting to have, just the male's perspective on what the breakup looks like. Because us females, like, we talk about this more often but we don't really get to hear. Us women. I don't use females, but us women love to talk about these things, and I think we talk about it more often than men. So
Yeah.
next time we'll have Bryan back, and hopefully, everything is up and working better. But thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you so much for contributing. I really enjoyed your wisdom as usual. And we have these kind of like rap sessions on public and privately, and it's always a blessing to me. So I'm just glad that you agreed to be on here tonight and bless the people of God.
I'm excited for what you're doing. And I'm really, really proud of us, like super proud.
Oh, I know, right? Gang, 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 gang. And so you guys can follow Ashley on Instagram at Mind My Therapy. I think on Facebook you're Ashley Cook.
Yeah. But
Yes.
if you look up my therapy, like through Facebook, it'll pop up. My name will pop up as well.
Okay. And do you want to tell them of any initiatives that you have? You said that you had the teenage workshop coming up and other things that you're doing, just so that people can know where to follow you and what is coming up for you, so they can join if they'd like.
If they follow me, they'll see it. Okay. I'm getting ready to participate in something called the Josiah Experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a culmination of basically a mobile youth conference.
Right.
And then there's a component where we talk to pastors and leaders and just help them implement certain things within their church. I'm being brought in to assist with prevention work for child sexual abuse. And then also with helping with teens and navigating through dating, navigating through trauma and things like that. So if you follow me, connect with me, I post all the time. So you'll be able to connect, and hopefully if I'm in your state, I love to hang out. I love to eat. So, we can always go find some food somewhere. So yeah.
That is a blessing. So thank you so much, Ashley. I will see you backstage in a minute. I'm just going to go ahead and sign off for tonight. Okay.
Vegans, bye y'all.
All right. Bye. So thank you so much for joining us tonight on another Lifeboat Live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. where I'm on here just talking about my life lessons or inviting other people to just join in and share theirs. I do believe that we are only that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And we can only have that if we, believe in the saving power of Jesus Christ, and also be overcome by the word of our testimony only by being healed and being able to be transparent once we are healed from our experiences and having a testimony, which can then inspire others who are going through to finally get through, or to just even realize that there's a possibility to overcome. And so the mission was accomplished tonight. I hope if you like this, please make sure that you share. Make sure you leave some comments, some hearts, likes. And if you're watching on YouTube, or you're not on YouTube right now, you can also go subscribe to my new YouTube channel, The Lifeboat Live with Absolutely Arian, so that you can get the notifications when we go live. And next week, we'll be back again with another topic that I can't wait to announce to you. So just make sure that you're following me on Instagram at Absolutely Arian, or on my Facebook page, so that you can see my announcements when they come. I love you guys. Can't wait to come back with you next Thursday at 9 p.m. But until then, sail on.